everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Pam Garrison. I'm Tri-Chair of the West Virginia Poor People's Campaign, and I would like to welcome you to our not-so-big, beautiful budget bill for community forum tonight. I would just like to start out with just a few housekeeping notes. There's bathrooms on each end of the hall, to left and right when you go out. We have bottled water out here at the registration table. And so now I would like to go ahead and get started. I would like to thank all of the partners that have came together to put this on. West Virginia Citizens Action Group, Tenants' Rights, and a lot of others that have helped and supported, and we want to thank each and every one of them. We'd like to start out tonight with a video from Reverend Barber. He's been having Moral Mondays, and he has invited West Virginia to this next Moral Monday. So we'd like to start with a video.
Make them hear you.
A budget is a moral document. And when you want to cut and hurt people, especially Congress people, who when you got elected, you got free health care, paid for by the people, and then you don't want the people to have the same thing you have, that is sick, and it is mean, and it is wrong, and we must challenge it. Speaker Johnson and the current leadership in the U.S. House have passed a deadly budget bill. They rammed this bill through committees in the middle of the night, held a vote on the House floor before 8 a.m. because they don't want to talk about what's in it. $1.1 trillion in cuts to programs that not only help people but keep people alive, just so they can pay $1.1 trillion in tax cuts for those who don't need it. And now every senator is going to have to decide whether they're going to vote for the "we are all going to just die" approach to politics. That's an ugly approach, especially by those who claim they care so much about life.
This immoral budget explodes the government's deportation budget, explodes the already bloated war budget, and to add more cruelty to injustice, 4.5 million children who are U.S. citizens would lose access to the child tax credit.
This bill will deny millions of people the health care, food, and income that they need.
If we don't stand up for Medicaid now, in spite of my honorable military service, the Senate will kill my child.
My life is not a waste. My life is not fraudulent. My life is full and active and meaningful. Proposing to cut Medicaid is a death threat to me and my friends with disabilities.
I want the people that are trying to take this away from us to put yourself in our seats. How would we live, be safe, healthy, and well if we don't have the resources that we need to live?
You know what they say they have money for? You know what their would-be king says they have money for? A $50 million military parade through the streets of D.C. paid for by y'all.
Friends, it is good when siblings gather together in unity to wake up a nation to an immoral bill.
That you got to understand this, that clergy have to be responsible.
Yes.
Whatever tradition you come from, may we all hear this moment as a sacred invitation, not just to believe, but to build a world where no one is disposable.
We are the most prosperous nation on the face of the earth. To say that we cannot afford to make sure that this nation lives up to the fullest meaning of its creeds, that is a lie, and it is evil.
This is policy violence.
This current budget that favors the rich will burden the majority and the less fortunate. And it is my prayer that the Congress consciousness will be arrested. Because the power is in the people. And we won't be silent anymore.
No, it's time to live. It's time to stand. It's time to speak. It's time to pray. It's time to protest. It's time to live justice and live righteousness and live what's right. It's time.
Make them hear you. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for that. We've brought together for y'all this evening a panel of people that are, these are the behind-the-scenes people. These are the people that deal and sort out the bureaucracy of these policies and these programs. And these are the people that are on the ground implementing these programs and these policies. And so we felt like their voices needed a stage, that the people needed to hear from more than just sound bites and spin, that they need to hear from the people who are on the ground, who have to deal with these things every day, and who help so many West Virginians be able to thrive and survive in some most difficult positions and things in their lives. And so what I hope for everyone this evening is that they will walk away tonight with knowledge, with hope, and with solidarity, that no matter what we have to face, that we will face it together, brother and sister, arm in arm, and we will show the West Virginia spirit that we are. At this time, I would like to introduce the facilitator for tonight. She's came all the way from Morgantown to be with us this evening. She's one of the kindest, sweetest organizers I think I have ever worked with. She works for West Virginia Citizens Action Group, and it has been a pleasure to work with her. And I would like to introduce Miss Mindy Holcomb at this time.
Pam, my kids may argue with you about the kindest and the sweetest. I don't think they quite see me that way. But yes, the universe did not want me to be here today, but nevertheless, I persisted. I don't know what is going on in Beckley today, but you could not get a hotel last night, even though I prepaid for one and showed up. Anyway, I got here thanks to my lovely husband, who makes sure I'm safe and sound, so I appreciate it. My name is Mindy Holcomb. I'm the healthcare organizer with West Virginia Citizen Action Group. And I am so pleased to be here and talking about this important issue today with you. I do want to give you a little bit of background on me. I am a daughter of Beckley. I was born in Raleigh General Hospital and lived here until I was about 12, until we moved to Charleston. And I've since moved up to Morgantown, so I've kind of gone all the way up the state. But I'm back here today because it's important to me that my hometown understands what's at stake today and what's going on with this bill. A little bit about me and my career here at West Virginia Citizen Action. It really all goes back to me just having a big mouth. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I have been for the past 31 years. And I was very privileged to always have health insurance up until my 40s when I got divorced. And I still had insurance through my employer, but it wasn't very good. I was working full-time and was paying as much as my mortgage for my insulin and the supplies I needed to inject it into my body so I could survive. It was terrifying. I put myself into $10,000 worth of credit card debt in about a year to try to maintain. And then after that year, I had to go a year and ration my insulin. I got sick one month and had to use more than what I normally did, and found myself at the end of that month with not enough to get me through the week. Most diabetics can survive 24 to 72 hours without insulin. I don't know how. I survived a week. I kept myself awake. I was afraid to fall asleep at night, afraid my 10-year-old daughter would find me dead. I did everything that they tell you is right and to do. I had a full-time job. I had health insurance. And the system failed me. I am lucky to be standing here in front of you. So I decided, after I got on the other side of that I would use my last breath to ensure that nobody had to endure what I had to go through. Because if I had the privilege of still having insurance, I could not fathom how other people were attempting to survive. And I have since learned, and it's horrific and terrifying. So I am here as part of my promise because we shouldn't have to suffer. We shouldn't risk death because we have an illness. We all deserve health care. We all deserve to go to the doctor when we are sick or injured. We all deserve it. There is nothing that makes us morally or righteously better than the person sitting next to us. So that is why I'm in this work. That is why I do what I do every day, and I intend to go out doing it. Whew, that was a little heavy. Try to bring a little more joy to us. Our first speaker today is Dr. Dan Doyle. I consider him a friend. I've worked with him quite a bit this past year and a half. He did not send me a bio to read, so I know he is a retired physician, I believe. Yes, okay. He is a member of PNHP, which is Physicians for a National Health Plan. Yeah, I got it. Okay. I usually say program at the end there, so. Oh, dang it. Okay, National Health Program. And he is an amazing speaker and true advocate for healthcare for all. So I would like to bring up Dr. Doyle.
Good afternoon, everybody. And good afternoon to the people who aren't here but who are with us via the live stream that Pam and Mindy have organized, which is great to spread this message even farther. And also for people who will be watching this later on the recording of the live stream, including journalists, of which we hope you are many. But thank you for you all who came out here today. So my name is Dr. Dan Doyle, as Mindy said. Please call me Dan. My wife, Linda Stein, and I moved to Fayette County 48 years ago from Boston. She is a social worker and educator, and I a doctor. We were idealistic young people. Now we're idealistic old people. We believe that health care is a human right, that everyone deserves health care. We still do. We wanted to work in a community health center that made those beliefs a reality, that cared for all people in the community, whether they had health insurance or not, whether they were rich or poor, whether they were of our language or another language. New River Health Association in Fayette County, started by the United Mine Workers of America, gave us the opportunity to do that. So that's why we're here today. West Virginia families need food and health care. Right now, that translates to Medicaid and SNAP. All families and persons in our country need food and health care, and we can easily do it. We are the richest nation in the world. What is stopping us? What is stopping us is a new political party called MAGA. MAGA is a party and an ideology based on white supremacy, wealth supremacy, and male supremacy. To advance their agenda of white supremacy, wealth supremacy, and male supremacy, MAGA uses tactics of hate, fear, and violence. Wealth supremacy. This is not about fraud, waste, and abuse. It's never been about fraud, waste, and abuse. This is about how dare you ask me to share my wealth by paying taxes for health care and food for the poor and the lazy. How dare you? Wealth supremacy. The wealthy should rule. The wealthy can never have enough. MAGA ideology. Waste, fraud, and abuse do occur, but it's not your neighbor who calls the ambulance for every one of her doctor visits. $80 billion per year in Medicare overbilling by the big 8 insurance companies. There's your fraud, waste, and abuse. Speak about that, Republican members of Congress. On June 10th, I received in my email this cheery message from Senator Capito, and I quote, "My Senate Republican colleagues and I have been hard at work on the reconciliation process and working to advance President Trump's agenda. While there is still more work to be done over the next few weeks, Senate Republicans are committed to bringing forward a robust bill that protects the American people, unleashes American energy, and helps American families flourish." End quote. Republicans keep saying, "We are going to pass this no matter what you say or do. It's inevitable. So you might as well go home and get used to it. Go volunteer at your food pantry or your free clinic." We keep saying, "It is not inevitable. We will hold you accountable for your vote. You have a conscience. It's not too late to save your soul. We will not give up this fight before your vote or after your vote." You're going to hear a lot of numbers today. There are too many to keep track of or remember for me, but here are the basics that I try to keep in mind. With the cuts passed by the House on May 22nd, there are now before the U.S. Senate over the next 10 years, that are now before the U.S. Senate, over the next 10 years, 75,000 West Virginians will lose Medicaid and 65,000 will lose some or all of their food assistance. 75,000 lose health care, 65,000 lose food. The cruelty inflicted on our neediest neighbors is only part of the story. These cuts will happen because $4.5 billion per year in federal funds will stop coming to our state. This will hurt hospitals, clinics, and nursing homes. Some will close. An estimated 6,000 jobs could be lost in 2026. The state economy as a whole will suffer. Why? Wealth supremacy. The MAGA demand a tax cut of over $4 trillion over 10 years which mainly benefits households over $1 million per year, earning over $1 million per year. It's not about fraud, waste, and abuse by the poor. It's about greed by the wealthiest and the elected members of Congress who serve them and are them. West Virginia families need Medicaid and SNAP. This is the urgent battle before us. This week, this month, this is our battle cry. This is our laser focus. West Virginia families need Medicaid and SNAP, not a tax cut for billionaires. A lot of today is about what's wrong with the big ugly bill and the harm it will do. But we also need to talk about action. Mindy is going to close with some comments about actions we can do. But here are some to consider this week, this year, and in the years ahead. Being here, that you came out, is a form of action. If you're listening to this on a live stream, that's action. You could have been doing other things. You could be in the swimming pool. This week, call Senator Capito about this bill and about the cruel cuts to Medicaid and SNAP. Some think it's too late to write postcards and write letters and letters to the editor. Flood their offices with calls this week. Keep on coming out for protests and demonstrations and marches. Volunteer for a resistance group in your community. Follow through. Show up. If you have the means, donate to independent journalism, which keeps getting the word out to counteract the Fox News lies and the MAGA lies. And there are others. But I'm going to close with this. I said earlier that the MAGA party advances its agenda using the tactics of hate, fear, and violence. Hate. Hate poisons the soul. We do not have to hate to oppose them. We can be angry at our Republican members of Congress, but we don't have to hate them. Fear. Don't be afraid. Now is a time for courage. Coming together like this, we give each other courage. Singing together gives us courage. Today we're going to end with a song. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. All our little lights together can make a big light, like last Saturday. Violence. Remember to remain nonviolent in all we say and do. That's hard when we're angry and outraged by what we see happening. But we are not MAGA. We are defenders of American democracy, defenders of the Constitution with its checks and balances, and we are pledged to heal division and work for liberty and justice for all. God bless America. We will overcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Doyle. And that really made me think of something. West Virginia has always been an extraction state. Rich coal barons came in, stripped our coal, left our people with black lung injuries, and no other industry to take its place. What do we have left? What do we have left for them to take? Food out of the mouths of our children. Money for health care that our low-income and needy families need and deserve. They just want to leave us to die. And is that who we are as West Virginians? Is that what we allow to happen to our neighbors, our family? No. So why are our representatives voting for this bill when that is not a West Virginia value? We have given enough to rich and greedy people to take their wealth out of our state and leave us with nothing. We have given enough. Our next speaker is Valeria Steele. She's a tenants' rights and also has a personal Medicaid story. She's a lifelong resident of Mercer County, and her organization is the West Virginia Tenants' Rights Project. She wants to make sure that citizens know their rights, learn how to advocate for their rights, and have a voice in the policies that affect their lives. And that is something so important, and I think that's why so many of us are here. Thank you, Valeria.
I may have to lower this. I'm really short. Hello, it's so good to meet people and see so many interested people here today. I'm going to start by asking a simple question. A show of hands, how many people here know someone or themselves personally, a neighbor that has had to use a program for housing, a free meal from a school program, a type of insurance subsidy? Anybody? Okay, that's what we're here to talk about. A little closer? I was like, I know, I need a platform. Let me see, is that better? Okay. The decisions coming from Washington, especially the big beautiful bill, will shape future and our state and our homes and our schools and our neighborhoods. This is about more than policy. It's about our families, our neighbors, and our children. Most of the programs that are affected are the backbone of the care that needs to be given to the economy in our state. In West Virginia, more than 34,000 subsidized housing units keep over 55,000 people safely housed, including our seniors, our veterans, and our grandkids. Most who benefit have incomes under $14,000 a year. 94% are considered very low income. It's not someone working the system. It's somebody who genuinely needs it. Wait lists for help stretch up to 9 months as it is. Cuts will mean even longer waits. Nationwide, every year, 1.5 million people lose their homes to rising rents and corporate landlords and investors. In the year 2023, there were over 6,000 evictions filed in West Virginia. I'm sorry, that's my son. And 84% of those ended with people losing their source of their home, whether it be an apartment, a mobile home, or a subsidized housing. That year, there was a 25% increase in the homeless population. That was the biggest increase in over a decade in West Virginia. The cuts that are on this bill for Section 8 vouchers, public housing support, and the home initiative, they're lifelines. They're all at risk. Losing them doesn't just mean numbers on a spreadsheet. It means fewer families will get help, repairs to existing properties will stall, and eviction becomes an even bigger risk in our cities and towns. One of the things for West Virginia is home ownership is one of the highest in the nation, 79%. But changes to federal support threaten to roll that back. Privatizing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac leads to higher mortgage rates, fewer approvals, and makes home ownership a steeper hill, especially for rural families. Last year, West Virginians made more than 1,000 mortgage applications, but next year, the dream won't be able to reach people. That's going to change. The bill promises to make more investments, expand tax credits, and incentives like the low-income housing tax credit. Since its start, that has built and preserved over 18,400 affordable homes here in West Virginia, including 6,000 in just one congressional district. But without oversight, expansions often help investors and not the people that it's intended to help. One of those things that occurred here was the initiation of opportunity zones. There were over 55 that were allocated in West Virginia, with the purpose being out-of-state investors were to funnel money in to bring growth, to bring jobs, to bring economic growth to West Virginia. What most of those turned out to be was tax shelters for these out-of-state investors. Very little economic growth, and it also ended up in the displacement of people in these affordable housing situations that they were no longer affordable for people to exist in. Nationally, over $16 billion has been funneled into these opportunity funds. Studies show more investments can mean higher prices, and we need more transparency and accountability to know what has actually happened with this money. Is it actually helping people, or is it just tax shelters? History has shown that when policies move fast without proper checks, the biggest winners are rarely our towns or working families. We need investment that lifts West Virginians up, not just lines the pockets of these outside investors. Part of the bill affects my organization directly. It's going to make it harder for cities and towns to keep rents fair, require inspections, and ensure landlord transparency. They're going to make it a federal statute that's going to preempt anything that a state or county level could do. So not only is it not going to be accessible housing, it's not going to be affordable, it's not going to be habitable. West Virginia is already among one of the weakest states for tenant protections as it is. With 220 mobile home parks across the state, loopholes have affected people in this state with rent increases of over 130% in 1 year. Quick show of hands. Do you think people in West Virginia deserve a clean, safe, affordable place to live? I agree. That's a shared value that most people in the United States would support. My second part that I'm going to speak on involves the young man that's over here making a lot of noise. That is my son, Jonathan. He is 21 years old. He was diagnosed with a chromosomal deletion disorder, and he just finished his career in Mercer County schools. He graduated from Bluefield High School last month. During the time that he was in school, he was treated with respect, he was treated with kindness, and he was allowed to participate in a community that he got to share the joy of learning and becoming more independent. And I think every person with a disability deserves that. West Virginia schools depend on $779 million in federal grants, almost $1 in $5 spent on public education. These support nutritional programs, extra help for students, and nearly $69 million for special education. Over 43,000 students, that's about 17% of public school kids, receive special education services. If this support shrinks, the rest falls to the state. It's going to stretch teachers, there's going to be less one-on-one help, there's going to be less therapy. So not only does it affect the people involved in the program, but that's going to be jobs that are lost. There are going to be educators and therapists that no longer have a job. The IDD waiver program, along with the traumatic brain injury program and the aged and disabled program, are funded by Medicaid as well. The IDD program serves over 6,000 West Virginians with disabilities. There's more than 33,000 that are in need of these services. Recent budget cuts have already trimmed millions out of the budget. Any further federal reductions would mean a growing wait list and less care. The average cost to maintain the care of a special needs individual is between $17,000 and $20,000 a year, opposing a neurotypical child. If you are trying to seek care for a special needs individual in West Virginia outside of financial assistance from waiver program, the average cost is $17 to $21 per hour. If there are medical concerns, that goes to $50 to $130 per hour. The average median income in West Virginia is $42,000. This isn't just a necessity, it's a lifeline. Federal funds are not a bonus. They are an entitlement for taxpayers and for people that have represented their interest in the state. And West Virginia, about 81% of extremely low-income renters spend more than a third of their income just to keep their home. Fewer dollars means fewer services, fewer homes, and more children and elders living without any benefits whatsoever. Policy details matter. As things change in Washington, we should stay aware of the real-world impact on our communities. The success of any program should be measured by who it lifts up, who it serves, and who lives it makes better. The past shows us without accountability and oversight, the right ideas can become the wrong outcomes. We're more than numbers. This is about West Virginia's future. Whatever happens next, let's keep fairness, neighborliness at the center. Let's keep listening, sharing, and standing up for each other. And thank you so much for listening to my part of this conversation.
Thank you, Valeria. That was very powerful. We appreciate that. I think we all of us deserve the things to help us thrive, not just survive. And I don't think that we are asking for anything above and beyond that. We just want to be healthy. We want to see our neighbors have the food they need. It's not too much to ask. I just really get frustrated because, I have 4 neurodivergent children under roof right now. And to hear what you're going through, it breaks my heart. And we shouldn't have to beg. We shouldn't have to plead for services for these individuals that bring so much to us and so much love and compassion and beauty to our communities. Next up, we have Paula McCutcheon. I don't have a bio for you, but I will let her speak about herself and tell us, and I'm sure you're going to be wonderful.
So my name is Paula McCutcheon, and I am a PRSS. I'm a person with lived experience, and I work with people who are the most vulnerable and underserved in some of the most underserved areas. And so I only felt right when I was asked to be here, because if we don't speak up, people will die silently. So for decades, we have fought against an opioid crisis that nearly broke us. We buried our loved ones. We watched families crumble. We saw far too long young lives lost to substance use. Despair, a system that once didn't care, but we didn't give up, and we fought back, and we began to heal with help. That help came in the form of Medicaid expansion, substance use treatment programs, and community clinics that finally had the funding to open their doors to the most in need. We saw change, we saw progress, and we saw hope. But that hope is under attack. The bill proposes massive cuts to Medicaid, the very foundation of our public health safety net. In West Virginia, over 600,000 of us rely on Medicaid, including nearly all of those receiving treatment for addiction and mental health. This is real life. In our rural towns. Medicaid is what pays for detox, for medication-assisted treatment, for therapy, naloxone, and for the chance to start over. You cut that and you leave thousands of our brothers and our sisters and our mothers and our fathers with nowhere to go. Without Medicaid, our treatment centers could close. Our local hospitals would bleed staff and services, and those battling substance use and mental health will be forced back to what they worked so hard to get out of alone. They want to cap funding, and they want to slash mental health grants, and they want to roll back protections for pre-existing conditions, including addiction. And that's not reform, that's retreat. We are being asked to trade lives for tax cuts, to sacrifice our recovery so the powerful can profit. To pretend we are fine when we are still healing is something that we can't do. Like I said, I work in it, and I am here because I care. And I know that my people wouldn't make it. We would lose way more people because of it if Medicaid is cut. All the progress that we've made this far, we would take 20 steps back. And I just don't, I can't be quiet and watch my people die. And, you know, we all deserve our basic needs met. It's hard for anybody to succeed in this life without a roof and shelter and food. And I mean, it's sad that we have to do this, but I'm not going to be quiet, and I know that all the ones that do need it don't have a voice, and someone has to be that voice for them. So just speaking up, showing up, calling, making the phone calls to advocate for this, because that's who we are, and we care, and we're West Virginians, and we suit up and we show up, and we all deserve those basic needs met, and not have to worry about how I'm going to go to the doctor, and not worry about how I'm going to eat. And so, yeah, I appreciate you having me, and I'll close with that. But, yeah, just don't be quiet, okay?
Our state was dumped in opioids. We have a foster care crisis also because of that issue. And they want to cut funding for people who are trying to pull themselves up. How are we supposed to do that? How are we supposed to heal our people? How are we supposed to heal our state? How are we supposed to heal our children and reunite these families with no support? It's not possible. And they deserve it. Those children deserve their families. These parents and individuals trying to pull themselves out of addiction deserve support. Our next speaker will be joining us via Zoom. It is Deborah Stiles. She was born and raised in Randolph, Calhoun, Tyler, Braxton, and Tucker counties. Her dad was an agriculture extension agent. Deborah is a small farmer, poet, and retired educator. After going on a Fulbright to Canada, Deborah spent 2 decades of her career at the Nova Scotia Agricultural College, now known as the Faculty of Agriculture, at, and I am going to butcher this, Dalhousie, I think, University. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Deborah. There, she taught humanities, rural studies and researched rural and agriculture policy. In 2024, she was the Democratic candidate for the state-level job of Commissioner of Agriculture here in West Virginia. She and her partner Lawrence raise vegetables, beef, and pork on what her grandparents farm on Limestone Mountain in Tucker County. Thank you for joining us, Deborah.
Thank you for having me. And I will say that I think Mindy and Pam both have my printed remarks. I am in my pickup truck outside of the public library in the county seat of Tucker County. My farm is about 9 miles away. There's not decent internet there. We were starting to get improvement through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, or one of those funding programs, but we are in a state of stasis in certain respects. So I came here to be able to speak to you all today, and I'm going to turn off my video to be able to read my statement very quickly. And if for some reason I be offended at all, if you all just grab that email and read it for me. But I will try to read it myself right now. So thanks again, everyone, for letting me speak today. And I'd like to give a hawk's eye view of West Virginia agriculture while explaining some of the damage that's been done to our farmers by the Trump administration, and also briefly detail how the current congressional budget bill, if unchanged, will hurt farmers, or producers as we sometimes call them, and citizens, eaters, or consumers as they're sometimes called. As I talk about these things, I'd also like to suggest what the congressional budget should include and what it should not include, as a call to action to call and write your senators, email your member of Congress, state officials, as a call to talk to your neighbors and local newspapers to impress upon them what you oppose in the budget bill, but also what you feel should be proposed and or preserved. To begin, let me say, no farm, no food. Some of you may have heard this saying before. I have a button that says this that I used to wear on my jacket. But more accurately, the phrase should be no farmer, no food, for without the human ingenuity, cash, and hard work of farmers, there would not be the food, fiber, and fuel everyone else relies on to survive and thrive. Truth is, we don't have enough farmers in our state or the nation. As many of you know, the median age of farmers in this country is 58, in West Virginia about the same. And while some ag economists don't see this as a problem, given the hard physical labor of farming, I'd say it's a problem. I'm 64. And given the current chaos created in markets by Trump tariffs and the abrupt cuts to programs that bought foodstuffs from American farmers to assist the hungry both in the U.S. and in the developing world, farmers young and old are facing terrible volatility. High prices in the cost of the inputs that they need, like seed, fertilizer, replacement livestock, etc., and uncertainty in the prices they get for what they raise. Now, the Biden administration attempted to create a more level playing field, scale-wise, as well as to fix historical injustices through helping to support more African American and immigrant farmers to produce food, fiber, and fuel. There also was support for smaller farmers like those we have here in West Virginia. I mean, by way of example, our average farm size is 150 acres. Mine is 70 acres. These are way smaller farms of what's farmed either by families or investment equity firms in the Midwest. Now, these programs were cut in mid-cycle, mid-contract. The fact that federal support programs for agriculture were abruptly canceled by the current administration at the mid-contract point and not replaced or offset by state programs or a new farm bill, which is renegotiated and put into action every 5 years by Congress, it means that our small farmers in West Virginia were disproportionately impacted by what began to happen in January with the new administration. And all of this means big problems ahead. As these Trump cuts ripple through the ag and rural economy, younger farmers, whatever their cultural backgrounds, will face greater challenges to getting the capital and land they need to farm at a scale that will be profitable. And West Virginia's former ag model, which is mainly farmers who farm part-time while having, say, a job at the local U.S. Forest Service office, like my neighbor, or jobs at sawmills, banks, or schools, well, that model is going to go the way of the passenger pigeon. Our farm sector in West Virginia, which has only in the last 30 or so years become more focused on what we call relocalization. In fact, the whole U.S. is just focused on relocalization of the food system, in the last few decades, that process that was helped by the Biden administration programs will be knocked back decades if these farmer support programs, such as one I'll call by its acronym right now, LFPA, if these aren't reactivated, put into a revised congressional budget, or put into the new farm bill, when the new farm bill finally gets settled, congressional Republicans have been holding this up quite a bit in the Congress as well. If these are not reactivated, we are going to see fewer and fewer farmers. So West Virginia's ag sector, if we take a hawk's eye view of it, is very, very small, but very, very important to food security, local food security. It will become even more important for folks to seek out West Virginia grown products at their local stores and farmers markets to give our farmers a fighting chance to survive this turbulence. Gone are the days when people were working close to home and could have gardens or an active farm themselves. Many commute hours to increasingly scarce jobs. They can't afford to invest time or money into farming. If you can't farm, though, you can do the important job of supporting local farmers. Now, turning briefly to programs like SNAP, which we've heard about already, which connect U.S. agriculture as a whole to all of citizens across the U.S., these programs, I must say, are very important to food security for vulnerable citizens, but they're also important to the economic bottom line of American farmers. These commodities, as we sometimes call them, allow for a more stable food supply overall. Now, I think part of the public realized this during the pandemic years, but for the Trump administration to call these programs, such as the one program I'll call the LFPA, for the Trump administration to call these programs COVID-era relief being discontinued because they're no longer needed, well, I must call that out. That's BS, as my father would say. That they canceled programs, though, after farmers had already made investments in new equipment and labor to meet the aims of these funds that they were to receive down the road, means that our hardworking West Virginia farmers are out cash when they're already cash-strapped. As one young farmer from southern West Virginia, Trey Yates, was quoted in a national article reporting on those Trump administration cuts, and I am paraphrasing here, it almost seems as though the Trump administration is trying to bankrupt small farmers who were helping through the LFPA and other programs to supply schools, daycares, and food banks with healthy local foods. Now, the logical thing would have been to honor the contracts and keep these programs going until their conclusion, evaluate their usefulness, and then either work them into the Farm Bill as permanent policy or discontinue them then. That's not what the current administration did. And the State Department of Agriculture, which administers these programs, has not done anything that I'm aware of to help the farmers who have been hurt by these indiscriminate and immoral cuts. West Virginia does not have enough farmers, as I've said. And on June 1st, we lost one, and his family, friends, allies, and fellow farmers like me are feeling this loss keenly. 28-year-old Fayette County farmer Trey Yates, whom I just mentioned, entrepreneur, mentor to young farmers, owner of Greenbrier Dairy and Creamery, was killed. Trey's Greenbrier Dairy and Creamery produced butter, the kind, as I told him during our last communication, just like my grandma Stiles used to make in her churn up on Limestone Mountain back when I was a child in the late 60s and early 70s. Now, some of you may have met Trey at the town hall held in Beckley area in the spring. I only met Trey recently at a panel discussion in Greenbrier County involving farmers and nonprofits like the Mountaineer Food Bank, where the focus of discussion was what had happened to several West Virginia farmers in the wake of the Trump administration's slash and cut campaign. I've personally heard from farmers and felt the effects of the illegitimate and unconstitutional actions of this administration. Now, to keep private lives private, farmers especially, I'll only say here that we are not talking about a couple of $1,000s or $100 in most instances. We're talking tens of thousands, 20,000 to over 70,000. The program's cuts are over 400 million. And our farmers that I know of have lost those thousands through these immoral cuts to these programs in mid-cycle, mid-contract. Now, I would like to take, if I could, I would like to ask that we take a moment now and bow our heads
and observe a moment of silence for Trey, who died on June 1st. Thank you for remembering Trey with me. And I would ask everyone now to think about the food we eat. The sacred space in many of our lives is one inhabited solely by our faith traditions. I'd argue the necessity of including our food and our farmers in this same sacred space. For food is sacred, and stewardship of the land is a farmer's sacred duty. Please support our West Virginia farmers by buying their products, even if the prices are a little bit higher. Because of the scale of our small West Virginia farms and input costs, there's a need for all of us to reduce non-necessary spending in this era of high import tariffs on goods from China and elsewhere, and to buy West Virginia grown products. Check out the West Virginia grown catalog at agriculture.wv.gov. You can Google West Virginia grown and get to the Department of Ag website and find farmers near you. Consumers are at the mercy of big ag and big grocery stores for most of their food supply, unless they happen to live within walking distance of a farmer's market. And there are many farmers markets in West Virginia. And if that is the case with anyone hearing these remarks, if it's possible, shop at a local farmer's market, at small stores, eat very simply and in season, do the traditional things West Virginians do of canning, freezing, drying, putting up for the winter. Then you'll do your part to help our West Virginia farmers stay in business and help them begin as able to scale up and produce even more food, or encourage others to get into farm business as well. In conclusion, cutting from programs like Medicaid and SNAP and other U.S. Department of Ag programs, doing all that to give tax cuts to billionaires and to continue spending billions on bloated military contracts while cutting the VA, all of that is only going to add to the national debt, and it places even more hurdles in the way of our farmers. The budget needs to focus on keeping programs like SNAP, Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security as they are, for that will help citizens afford food, fuel, health care, and housing, while at the same time help rural communities and their farmers stay solvent. Let Congress and your state officials know, because many of these programs, such as the Local Food Purchase Assistance, or LFPA program, and similar programs, let people know how these were helping nutrition at our local schools while improving market share and the incomes of our farmers. This is how the well-being of farmers and the ag sector overall is connected to all citizens of the U.S. and to the preservation of the U.S. social safety net that all of us deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is so important, because we have such a rich tradition here in West Virginia of farming and using our products, and as she said, canning, and I remember all of those things when I was growing up. I don't think it is a value of West Virginia to take food out of the mouths of children or families. I think we have a tradition of sharing our bounty, sharing what we have to make sure that everyone can eat. That is our tradition. That is who we are as West Virginians. And that is why it is important to call our representatives. I know it feels like a pointless task, but it is so important to remind them, because are our representatives ever going to understand what it's like to go without food? Are our representatives ever going to understand what it's like to go without health care? To be sick and not go see the doctor? No, they're not. Are they going to have to worry about the education of their children or grandchildren? No. Will they ever have to worry about being houseless or affording their mortgage or their rent? No. That is why we have to call and remind them of what West Virginia is really struggling with. I think they get into DC and they just become, they think they live somewhere else when they come home. But this is our reality. This is where we are, and we need to remind them of that reality. And we're going to have to remind them daily, because this vote is coming up soon. And I'll go in a little bit more about how this is all playing out. Next up, I have Libby Booker. She was born and raised in Charleston, West Virginia, in a small, close-knit community on the outskirts of Charleston, referred to as the Hill, Vandalia. Her biggest blessing in life is family, church, and community. She is a daughter, mother, sister, and great-grandmother. She's proud to say that she's a product of the West Virginia education system, a graduate of South Charleston High School, West Virginia State University, and Strayer University. Her love for learning came from her parents, who instilled in her at an early age the importance of education and how it would affect her future. Today, she is an educator with the Kanawha County School System and president of WIN, the women's division of the NAACP. Her mission in life is to educate and serve. Being reared as a Black woman in West Virginia, it has given her the unique perspective of knowing that social and economic discrimination is real. The reality of this knowledge has prepared her to become an advocate for justice. Her greatest desire is that God uses her. He has led her to this time and place of service, whether as a teacher, activist, or citizen of this great state and country. She is that and foremost a servant.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for letting me be a part of this so very, very important event today. As she mentioned, I am a teacher, and I always want to put that out there first and foremost. And that's how I'm going to address you today. That, along with what my pastor always tells us before he starts his sermon. He prays and asks that he talks with you and not at you. I never want to talk at you. As an educator, I work in the resources department, so we're part of special ed. So my kids that I teach, they take a little longer to learn. Not saying that they don't learn, because they do. But the biggest problem that I find is they don't have confidence in themselves because of the economic situation that they're in. That leads me to why food stamps and SNAP are so important. In my classroom, as well as most of the classrooms within the school where I work, the teachers have to come out of their own pockets to make sure that there's food for the kids. They get breakfast, they get lunch, and for a large population, that lunch is going to be the last meal that they get for the day. So sometimes people get it a little twisted. They think that our kids can't learn. They think that our kids don't want to learn. Our problem is, how can you learn when you're hungry? How can you learn when your basic needs are not being met? It's impossible. And it's just that simple. I want to give you a little background on SNAP. And I hate just saying SNAP, because I really don't like acronyms, because sometimes a lot of things are lost in the words. So when I tell you, I want to talk to you about supplemental nutrition assistant program that helps to put things into perspective. No one is asking for a handout. They're just asking you to help them to maintain a livable lifestyle. to have health care, to have food, to put on their table. And you have to be able to put a face with these issues. Has anybody in the room or who will be watching later ever had to benefit from SNAP? I know as a single mother, back in the 70s, there was a time that I had to apply. Actually, there were 2 times. The first time, I received benefits, but because of the way I was raised, and all of us here as West Virginians, if we are in any shape or form able physically to work, we seek employment. We don't always get it, but we seek it. So we're doing our part. I raised a son with the help of a short period of time with SNAP and my family. God knows I don't know where I would be without my family and my community. That's why I include my community anytime I go anywhere. They are my stable. They are my backbone. We stand on each other's shoulders, and sometimes we forget that. So I'm going to give you a little background on SNAP. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistant Program has been an essential component of American life since its inception in 1939. Under the food stamp program, which was credited to several people, but mostly notable Secretary of Agriculture Henry Wallace. Over the years, based on need, the program has changed slightly to conform to the needs of the people. In fulfillment of a campaign promise made right here in West Virginia, President Kennedy, first executive order when he took office, called for the expansion for food distribution, and on February the 2nd, 1961, he announced the initiation of the food stamp pallet program, which eliminated the concept of special stamps for surplus food, which we had initially. On January the 31st, 1964, President Johnson requested Congress to pass legislation making the food stamp program permanent. And I say again, permanent. So I don't know what's happening up there at the Capitol now. This was made permanent. That means it doesn't go away. Among the official purposes of the Food Stamps Act of 1964 were to strengthen the agricultural environment and their economy and provide and improve the level of nutrition among low-income households, and to put control of the program under congressional control. Congressional control. So that means the president cannot issue an executive order and wipe out food stamps. It's up to Congress. I'm going to share some data with you now. Participants in the federal program, adults and children receiving welfare, TANF, is 11,470. And these are statistics from West Virginia. Children receiving SNAP, 112,000. Our kids have to remain healthy. And the first step in being healthy is having nutritional food. Then we can take a look at the economic well-being. Extreme poverty rate here in West Virginia, 10%. Food insecurity, 13.50%. Get this one. Minimum wage, $8.75. A mere $8.75. And they expect you to buy enough food for your family, to pay housing for your family, to pay medical costs for your family, with a minimum wage of a mere $8.75. Again, I say impossible. The percent of individuals who are uninsured, 6.40%. Percent of jobs that are low wage in West Virginia, 26.80%. A quarter of our population existing on low wages. The percent of working families under 200% of the poverty line, 36.90%. The poverty rate, 16%. Unemployment rate, 4.8%. I tell my kids, and I remind them often, if you don't do anything else when you come to my class, I want you to learn how to think for yourself. When you think for yourself and you put these statistics together, you know there's no way possible living in West Virginia and making such low wages that you can support your family, that you can be healthy. And if you're not healthy, if you're not able to eat and have energy, how in God's name can you work? We have to think through the processes. But there is some hope. I received a copy of an email. I was on that list. So I want to give this to you, but don't get too happy. Because it's only a step. And we have to realize that what is happening in the White House is a process. So what we received was, and I'm going to read it to you. Hi, all. While I don't always advise checking work email before 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning, glad I did, the parliamentarian has ruled that the Senate cannot include the new radical shift of SNAP. Benefit costs to the states of the AG committee portion of their reconciliation bill, meaning that they cannot mandate that states pay for part of SNAP. It is 100% funded federally. And they cannot include the attack on SNAP benefits for legal immigrants either. So I'm going to jump down a little bit. Senate Ds, okay, won their fight against SNAP state match. Ours can't force states to cover some of the costs of SNAP. This will protect against states dropping the program entirely and will cost ours a significant amount of their savings, making the House politics worse. So again, this is just stopgap. Don't think we've won anything, because truly we haven't, because they're not going to give up. They already planned for this. They have an agenda, and it's like chess. When you play the game, you have to think ahead and move accordingly, and you have strategies. So they knew that eventually that was going to be addressed. So they're not going to give up. But you know what's important? That we don't give up either. We have to stand together, and we have to continue the fight. So it's important to know that this one big, beautiful bill is now subject, these particular portions that have to do with SNAP, has to meet a 60-vote threshold, according to the state parliamentarian. So that means that they can't just have that one vote that they have before, or the 2 votes that allow them to push through legislation that's not in our best interest. So I'm not going to keep going on and on, but I believe that it's important that we remember a lot of the negativity that we take and we internalize is because we have gotten used to people saying the same thing over and over. And when you hear repetitiously the same things, you start to believe them. They become ingrained in you mentally, and that's your default reaction automatically. So I'm going to tell you this, and then one other thing. I always want to leave you with my repetition, and it's with Scripture. Matthew 25:40 through 43. Truly, I tell you, whatever you did for the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not take me in. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. So I am challenging every politician of every party on the federal, state, and local level to do a self-assessment. If you are bringing, signing onto, or voting for a bill that harms the least of us, your constituents, and God's people, I ask that you immediately cease and desist. Represent those who voted you into office, we, the people. While I was sitting waiting to get started, I was reading the handout that's in our chairs. If you would, just turn quickly to the second page and look at the first bulletin under the poor are a powerful force in this country. West Virginia is home to 656,860 million poor and low-income eligible voters who make up 46.25% of the electorate. So if we make up 46.25% of the electorate, and that's not counting all West Virginians, that's counting poor and low-income eligible voters. What an impact would we have on this state if we stood together? Unity. Don't buy the lie that your vote does not count. It does. If you do not vote, you are a part of the problem. Don't be that part of the problem. Stand together, link arms, hold hands, and be part of the solution.
Thank you so much. And I just want to drop some facts about work requirements and Medicaid and SNAP that I think are very important because things are getting misconstrued. The party is trying to say that they are trying to fix Medicaid and SNAP. They are trying to make it better for people who deserve it. However, in the United States, 90% of people on Medicaid are working. 90%. In West Virginia, it's almost 63%. Then there's also the people that are on it are also low income, children, people with disabilities. Are we going to send our children back into the mines? There's no mines to go in. Arkansas tried work requirements for Medicaid a few years ago. It was a disastrous failure. It did not increase their employment rate. They did not see an uptick in jobs. In fact, because of the extra red tape and bureaucracy that people had to go through twice a year, make sure they were eligible, it cost the state almost $45 million. West Virginia is already in a deficit. They want to pass the costs of Medicaid and SNAP onto the states. Where are we going to get the money? It does not exist. And I want to make one thing clear before I pass it on. This is not the end of this. Their ultimate goal is to destroy and eliminate the Affordable Care Act. So for those of us that have been able to get insurance through the Affordable Care Act marketplace, their goal is to take that away. Completely defund it, take it away. And I think a lot of people in West Virginia have benefited from that program. So make no mistake, this is step one. They're coming for that next, and sooner rather than later. Next, I'd like to introduce John David. He is a volunteer director with the Southern Appalachian Labor School. He is an emeritus professor of economics and labor at West Virginia University Institute of Technology.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Mindy. Appreciate which microphone is working. I don't know. You know, everybody has said some amazing things, and I think we all need to be aware of, you know, everything that was said. But I want to mention a couple of things that may be a little bit different. I want to basically read you a study that just came out by, I have it here somewhere. Well, don't know where I put it. It was put out by the Yale School of Public Health. And it released a study that documented the changes in life expectancy rates in the United States over the last 100 years. And guess what? West Virginia leads the nation in having the worst life expectancy rates in the country. I also want to point out that West Virginia is now second in the nation in having the oldest population. So look around, because you may not be seeing some of these people for a very long time. But basically, I want to also note that some of the factors that are going into why people are having difficulties and dying, and we've heard many of them, but I want to kind of talk about a couple. Environmental. Look at what's gone on in Minden. Look what's going on in Wyoming County with the bad water. Look what's going on with all of the pollution and environmental crises that we're experiencing in West Virginia. And how is it causing people to die early? Secondly, working conditions. The AFL-CIO says we're the second deadliest workplace fatality rate state. Look at people who are disabled because they have worked in the chemical plants, in the coal mines. Look at basically what's going on to how they have and how they are not. Thirdly, we've talked about food. I want to point out that about half the counties in West Virginia are classified by USDA as persistent poverty, including Fayette County, where I'm from. When I leave here, I'm going to be picking up pizzas from Little Caesars. The Southern Appalachian Labor School has agreements with $3 generals in Lismore, Smithers, and Montgomery and Oak Hill to pick up surplus food they can't sell or if it expired. We have agreements to pick up from 2 Little Caesars, one in Beckley. We have agreements to pick up from Sheets. And what are we doing with all this stuff? We are distributing them the best we can in the hollers of rural West Virginia right now, and when I leave here, I'll be distributing food in Page and Kincaid and Beard's Fork. The other thing that we're trying to do with to deal with schools and with food is the Feed and Read program. Reading is at a crisis level due to, various factors, including the pandemic. Food is at a crisis level, particularly in the summertime for children. So we are taking food around the best we can to low-income trailer courts and apartment complexes in the Canal Valley and in the plateau areas every day, 5 days a week, all summer long. Books, free books. Sitting with the kids and having them read in order to have the lunch. And being outraged that this week we were turned down for support for the first time by Fayette County Schools to support that initiative. The other issue is that, we talked about Medicaid, but Dan, Dr. Doyle, talked about setting up the New River Health Association. But these clinics, these hospitals, are they going to survive? No. They're going to be places where people won't get health care. I'm the vice chair also of the Central Appalachian Empowerment Zone. It's basically operating in Clay County. Clay County currently has no grocery stores. People in Clay County, where do they have to go to get health care? How do they get there? How do they get out of the hollers? What kind of transportation do they have? None, or on roads that are impassable, particularly in the wintertime. So there is a problem with health care, and I now want to talk about housing. You talked about housing. I want to add a little bit to what Valerina said. We are one of 8 HUD-certified housing counseling agencies in the state. After hours and on weekends, and tomorrow actually, I'm going to get all these calls. People call like crazy. They have all these problems with, where's my wheelchair ramp? How am I going to deal with foreclosure? I'm being kicked out. Do you have places where I can live? We're just overwhelmed. We have probably 200 applications for people right now, families in the immediate area that need wheelchair ramps or assistance with their houses in order to live. The data that I have is that 58,710 families in West Virginia need housing. They're living in orange crates, which we properly call Jenny Lind houses, built by the coal companies as temporary shelters a long time ago, never designed to be around today. Single walls, uninsulated. Many of them have dirt floors, and we've been in them all trying to fix up those houses. We've fixed up, so far, over 1,000 of them. and we have seen unbelievable living conditions. It isn't just the structure, it's insulation. You know, AEP is after rate increases left and right. How are people going to pay to have their houses heated when the electricity rates are going to be what they are? In Beards Fork, there is no natural gas, for example. Many places are not, you know, served by pipelines. And so you have a situation where folks are in very, very, in houses that can't be efficiently heated. The power goes off frequently. If you are on a respirator, if you are subject to having some kind of a health machine, a breathing machine, a black lung kind of tank, or whatever it all is, how are you going to operate those things if the power goes off? How are you going to operate those things in a house that doesn't have doors wide enough for a wheelchair? How are you going to operate those things in a house that doesn't have a wheelchair ramp that is, or if you have one, is rotted out and you'll fall through, as a couple people did just last week? And in terms of, well, let's put it this way. We have an office in Kincaid, and within a mile in any direction of Kincaid, I've seen recently 7 trailers burn. In Page, which is close to Kincaid, if you drive through, I invite you to, you'll see one burned out house after the other. The conditions are terrible, and of 92,738 vacant units, 65% are not habitable. So poor housing conditions create mold and asthma and cardiovascular disease. Breathing equipment can't be served. And, of course, we have food insecurity. What kind of food are you going to get in a county that doesn't have a grocery store? What kind of literature is at that store to tell people, don't buy this or that, it's processed food, it will cause this or that if you eat it, etc., etc. There is no advice and no kind of way to tell people how to purchase nutritious and healthy food. So, in regard to housing, I can say that it's more than a place to live. It shapes people's health in ways that go beyond the walls of the home. And the lack of habitable housing that is affordable to low-income West Virginians is a prescription for early death. So, my comment on housing, just to give you a sense of things that's going to happen, I was in touch with the, what they call the National Low-Income Housing Coalition analysis of the HUD bill that is being talked about and probably is going to be passed. $0 for renewing rental assistance renewals. $0 for vouchers for veterans. $0 for public housing emergency disaster funds. $0 for housing for elderly people. $0 for disabled housing. $0 for housing counseling, as we try to do. And $0 for healthy homes to make sure that lead hazards and other situations are not prevalent in the house itself. And that's HUD. And housing is also dominated to a great extent by USDA through the Rural Development Program. Half the staff in West Virginia is gone. The programs that we operate, we cannot find people to be in touch with. We have a grant from EDA. I can't find anybody to process it. We have AmeriCorps programs. I got a memo yesterday from the Youth Build AmeriCorps program saying their request for refunding has been turned down. So I share this comment. Everybody has said, what we need to do, and my comment is, you think this is the end? Take it from me. It must be the beginning. And I quote that from a famous film called The Inheritance that was produced by the Amalgamated Clothing Workers Union decades ago. We still have that challenge on our plate. Thank you very much.
Are we angry yet? Have we had enough yet? It's only going to get worse. It doesn't have to be this way. As I said earlier, what more can they take from us to benefit the wealthy who will never have to face what our people already face and many more will be facing? Are we ready to rise up yet? Is it time yet? Because if we don't now, it could already be too late. But we have to stop this bill now. The bill is in the Senate. It went from the House, and it's now in the Senate. They've put in their language. They released that on Monday. They're going to vote on it more than likely next week. The president wanted it on his desk to sign by July 4th. We've stalled it long enough, that won't happen. Because it has to go back to the House. They have to agree with everything the Senate put in it. We still have some time, but we don't have much. That's why these calls are vital to Capito, to Justice, to Riley Moore, and Carol Miller. They have to remember who put them there. They have to remember who they represent, whether any of us voted for them or not. They still represent everyone in the state. They don't represent their donors. They don't represent a certain administration. They represent the people of West Virginia. I'd like to introduce our final speaker, who is Pastor Brad Davis, who I just met today, and he's quite lovely. He is a United Methodist elder serving churches in McDowell County, one of the most underserved and under-resourced places in America. As a native of Central Appalachian coal country, Brad has a passion for the revitalization of its land and its people. His ministry focuses on issues related to coalfield justice, community renewal, and the church's role in co-laboring with God to make them a reality. Turn it over to you.
Thank you all. First of all, let me say thanks to the organizations that put this event together, and thank all of you for being here and all of you joining online, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. My name is Reverend Brad Davis, and I bring you greetings from the free state of McDowell County, where literally and figuratively our people exist from below. literally because we are the southernmost county in the state of West Virginia, and figuratively because we are a crucified people, hanging on a cross of socioeconomic exploitation for generations. Generations. And if you don't believe me, come visit. And the proof is in the pudding. Nearly half of our residents, 45% of all those who live in McDowell County, receive their health coverage through Medicaid. 78% of our kids are covered under Medicaid, children under the age of 18. Approximately 5,500 of our approximately 17,000 residents receive SNAP benefits. Just let that sink in for a moment. And by the way, as the gentleman just referenced moments ago about the Wyoming water crisis, we too are dealing with clean water issues. I pastor 5 churches in 5 different communities. 3 of them are water-impacted communities. So indeed, we are a crucified people. And you would think that our elected officials, their number one priority would be to help us come down off that cross. Correct? But instead, with this proposed bill that is currently in the Senate and has passed the House, what our elected representatives are doing, those charged with upholding the common good, what they are doing, they are driving the nails deeper into our people. Several years ago, is back when the schools were shut down because of COVID. There was a program through the West Virginia Council of Churches that gave food to kids at home, delivered food to kids at home. And Reverend Jeff Allen, who I worked with at the Council of Churches, who was instrumental in getting this program started, heard stories from bus drivers in McDowell County who, when they delivered the boxes of food, the kids tore those boxes open in the yards before they ever got in the door. Now, what happens to those kids who are currently on SNAP if SNAP goes away? What happens? It is a moral abomination. Reverend Barber, at the beginning of this program, referenced the fact that budgets are moral documents, echoing what Reverend Dr. King said generations ago. And this budget, my friends, shows that our elected officials are morally bankrupt. And it underscores the fact that we are morally rotting away. Our elected officials are charged with giving society what it needs to survive. And they are backtracking and abdicating that role. As I said, almost half of our residents are on Medicaid. We have one hospital in McDowell County, Welch Community Hospital. What happens if this budget passes and these Medicaid slashes go through? What happens not only to all of our people who are on Medicaid, but what happens to our hospital? Our hospital cannot remain open without Medicaid reimbursements. Our hospital will close, leaving 17,000 people with an hour away in any direction from the nearest hospital. Oh, and by the way, Welch Community Hospital is the third largest employer in the county. So if that closes, guess what happens to an already suffering economy? The nails go in deeper. This bill is not only morally bankrupt, but it's sinful. Let's call it what it is. It is sin. Period, point blank. Oh, by the way, tucked away in this bill as well, 90% of all federal funding for clean water infrastructure goes away. What happens to our already struggling communities, struggling with access to clean water? What happens when that funding goes away? Just this morning, I saw an article, I think it was the Gazette-Mail, but I'm not sure, where our Senator Justice was quoted as saying that people should be required to work to receive Medicaid, to receive health care. People should be required to work to receive health care. My message to you, Senator Justice, my question to you today is, what Bible are you reading? Because he said it's biblical. He said it's biblical. What Bible are you reading? Because I would invite you to dig into the Hebrew prophets, who over and over and over again explicitly talk about the need, the mandate for people of faith. And by the way, both of our senators claim faith. The mandate for people of faith to care for the most marginalized people in society. So, what Bible are they reading? And I'll go a step further than that and ask, what God are you serving? Amen. Amen. We are bowing on the altar of profit at the expense of life. And that, folks, is sin. So I would invite today our senators from West Virginia, both Senator Justice and Senator Capito, and all of the congressional delegations from every state who are in favor of this, who plan on voting for this. I invite you today to, as my sister said earlier, self-reflect and repent. Turn away from the God of greed and the death-dealing policies that God directs, and turn toward the God of life. The God who, as those of us who are in the faith tradition of Christianity, those of us who follow Jesus, the God who in Jesus Christ came to give life and give life more abundantly, the God who intends for all life to flourish. So yes, Matthew 25. We believe that all human beings are created in God's image, that all human beings, because they are created in God's image, are deserving of dignity, respect, love, and to have their most basic needs met. So not only if you are favoring this bill, not only are you abdicating your role to uplift the common good in society, and you have become part of the clan of Cains, who ask, am I my sibling's keeper? And then kill us. But you've also abdicated, if you claim to be a person of faith, you have abdicated your mandate to uphold the greatest commandment, to love God, and the second is just like it, to love your neighbor. And we love our neighbor, or should I say, we love God in the way that we love our neighbor. Why? Because all of us are created in God's image. So what I do to you, I am doing to God. And what I do to the most vulnerable among us, the least among us, I am doing to the God who always sides with the most marginalized. I leave you with this today. One of my faith heroes is Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, who marched with Reverend Dr. King at Selma during the civil rights movement, along with many other clergy people from various faith traditions. Later, on reflecting on his time involved in the civil rights movement, particularly there, Rabbi Heschel said, I felt like at Selma that I was praying with my legs. So I invite you, me, us, today, those of us who claim to be people of faith, put your faith in action. Pray with your legs and do not stop until this abomination that is called the big beautiful bill finds itself in the trash bin of history. Amen. Thank you.
Whew. It's been a powerful day. A powerful time with you, and so I want to thank you for that. One of my co-workers at our national level, he's younger than I am, cooler than I am, and he has a favorite quote from his favorite rapper. But when he mentioned this, when things got heavy the other day during one of our meetings, it hit me right here in the chest. Sometimes you got to let the work do what hope can't. And right now, it feels hopeless. No. But it's not. Give me a minute. But we got to put our heads down, and we got to do the work. So what I need, each and every one of you within the sound of my voice, is to make those calls. Get 5 friends, 5 at least, 5 people in your life. Can you all guarantee to me today that we're going to do that in this room? We're going to find at least 5 people to start making calls on Monday? Because if we're silent, we're complicit. And I'm not going to be complicit in watching West Virginians die. I'm not going to be complicit in taking food out of children's mouths. I am not going to be complicit to watching my neighbors suffer. I refuse. and there is air in my lungs. And as I said at the beginning, I will use it till the very last breath to make sure that no one suffers. So what we want to do is open things up for any questions that people might have for our panelists, anything we can answer. Looks like we have one back there.
Hey.
Thank you. I'm Joe Golden. I'd like to go back to Mindy's earlier comments about a lot of this is happening because of the greed of people who are well-to-do, who don't need an extra $1 million to have their quality of life improved. Or even their sense of money is different than our sense of money. Theirs is not for survival, theirs is for power. But I also want to mention the rhetoric that we hear coming from these people, from the Trump administration. Then when they say something that they are attacking, they're actually saying, this is what we're doing. So when they talk about fighting fraud, work, and abuse, what they're really talking about is introducing chaos, confusion, and ineffectiveness so that no one's there to pick up the fraud, no one's there to be able to define the abuse because there's not enough people to figure out what they're supposed to do, but they're creating abuse of the system. And they're also saying, if you look at the things they want to cut in the current budget for the federal government, there's nothing said about the $38 billion that Elon Musk got from government contracts, especially the defense contracts, and whether there's any evidence of an abuse, fraud, or waste in that. I don't think anybody has really spoken to that. And I think we need to keep in mind that we want to work and do our best for all West Virginians and for the people of this country to help, but we also should throw the accusations back at those who are making these things that are creating hate and trying to destroy reputations and trying to intimidate those institutions and people that are trying to do good. So we should continue to call out them, but at the same time work for those in need. Thank you for allowing me to have this comment.
Thank you.
Have any others?
First, I want to say thank you for putting this together. And my name is Edward Banks. This is a very surreal moment because Dr. Doyle's here, and he doesn't recognize who I am yet. But when I say who I am, he'll know. Come to find out, my middle school principal is here. And my influence. I was sitting at a bar when this lady says I cast my votes for West Virginia, Miss Jean Evansmore. So I no longer live in West Virginia. I have intentions of moving back. But what I'd like to say, and I'm going to come at this from a totally different perspective, and I'd ask you to understand, just based on life experience, this is some real stuff. You don't have a politician problem. You don't have a Donald Trump problem. You have a West Virginia population problem. Somehow, in a state that is 90% European, that have always known that you've had these conditions and these problems, you've decided, possibly some of you in this room, that the lesser of two evils was to vote for somebody who was supported by the Ku Klux Klan. Now let's count the numbers. It's going to be fun for Mr. Perry because he knew I was trying to fail 7th grade, so he's going to probably say I finally learned how to count. In this state, 319,247 is the difference between the Democrat and the Republican in this state. So you don't have a politician problem. There's only a couple of hundred of those in Charleston. You've got a 300,000, 247,000 person problem. You said you wanted each of us to go out and talk to 5 people. We still haven't moved a needle.
That's right.
The issue, what are we teaching our people? Your politicians come from your community except for your governor in some way, and somehow you let some idiot from New Jersey come in here and run our state. It is not the politicians. It is your citizens. What you are suffering from, and I said this in 2018, and this is with all the love I have in my brown heart. The Europeans wouldn't know how bad Donald Trump was until he started treating y'all like black people. And guess what? He don't care about your health care. He don't care about your job. We've always felt that. We've just been asking for help. Not a handout, I heard that. We're asking for you to do no more harm. If the people that are in this room aren't standing in front of the mayor's house in Beckley saying that the conditions in Raleigh County are crap, he ain't gonna say nothing to the governor in Charleston about the conditions being crap. All politics are local.
That's right.
You will never meet Donald Trump, but you could bump into the mayor of Beckley. What are we really doing? In this state, you have 4,039 churches. 4,000. We talk about religion. You can only turn the other cheek so much, Pastor. What's really happening is white on white crime. And until you start calling it that, they're going to be able to cloud it with other issues like immigrants, gays. No. Yeah, you're saying why we got Black History Month. You won't even have a White History Month after this president because he'll kill all of you. She said SNAP. It's what the word means is totally different than what the acronym sounds like. Saying you have an economic problem does not mean white on white crime. Somebody in this room has said that about the people in Chicago shooting each other, but you ain't said nothing about white people starving each other in West Virginia.
That's right.
You have in this room, you don't have 5 people to go find. You have 500 days until the midterm. 500. You voted in this state 90% for a known felon. The state did. This again, we must take personal responsibility ourselves. I've heard that as a brown man my whole life. You need to take responsibility for your community. Y'all need to get off of drugs and do whatever. No, guess what, white people? It's y'all's turn. So if we're going to do this, and we're going to do this together, because that's what you're saying, I kept hearing the words together and us and we, right? Like we was included. But I've been here since 1967, and I remember being excluded. So what I'm telling you is, if you're going to make it better, once you get it good, don't forget that we back here. So you don't have a politician problem. You have a character problem, and a neighbor problem, and a community problem, and a church problem, and a faith problem. And it's not the 10 Commandments, it's the Beatitudes. It's time for you guys to start reading the Jesus parts of the Bible. So, I'm not a resident of West Virginia currently. I live in Virginia, but that doesn't mean I don't care about where I came from. And it embarrasses me when people ask me, and I have to tell them I came from the land of the Klan. And that's what people are saying about us outside of this state. It's bad enough when they talk about us sleeping with our sisters and having no teeth and one leg being, but then when we prove them right by being completely oblivious to what's happening, it's our own fault. So you need to look at your neighbors and you need to look at yourselves, and you need to say, if we are going to be in this together, then everybody needs to grab an oar and row, or this turd will sink.
Thank you.
I don't use microphones. I'll talk loud enough. I want to thank those that put this forum together. Thank you for the panel. Thank you for those in the audience showing up. And I don't have a question, I just have a comment. I'm a person living with a disability, and forgive me if I get a little emotional.
It's okay.
I have a condition which requires a life-sustaining medicine, a blood thinner, that I have to take every day. I first had a
That's right. Thank you, Elaine. Anybody else?
So I have a question for everybody here in the audience. I'm going to tack on to what was just said, that we have a community problem here in the state. Look around. I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious around us. So how do you break through? How do you get the message through to the people that are all in 1,000% to say, maybe you're not right. Maybe you need to reconsider the choices that you've made. How do you break through?
Does any of my panelists want to answer that?
Tell the truth.
Is this mic on?
When we start dying.
Is yours on?
Yes, they're all on.
Is yours on, Dan? Use this one.
Test.
Here, use this one.
I guess I would say, what's your answer?
I just don't shut up.
I would like to try to address that. I was at an event last night, Thursday night, and the gentleman that was speaking, the bottom line was, we are the answer. Each of us individually, we all have a role to play. We have to step up and play it. We have family members, start with your family. Once you've talked to everybody in your family, then look at your neighbor on the left and right. Take the houses beside you. Once those houses are on board, you go out to the next block. And you keep going and you keep going and until your entire community. And again, being a teacher, I understand that sometimes you have to have somebody read to you. So if you don't understand the Constitution, if you don't understand what Project 2025 is, if you don't understand what this big, beautiful mess of a bill is, then sit down with people, read it to them, and if they don't comprehend it, explain it. But we have to start with us first. We have to look within. We have to stop being afraid and do what we need to do.
Anyone else?
I think telling people also, because a lot of people I think have a lot of cognitive dissonance, that it's not going to affect them. Let them know what you heard today. Let them know how it's going to affect rural West Virginia. Rural hospitals are going to close. Nursing homes are going to close. What does that mean? Job loss, further poverty. It can happen to them. And if this goes through, it more than likely might.
My comment to your question, I think all of us, many of us here have thought about that question a lot. In 2024, in this state, it was, the vote was 70-30 Republican right down the line. So that's a pretty huge difference. And so we know, considering the amount of poverty and dependence on food assistance and Medicaid for health care, that many people who depend on those things voted with MAGA. And that's hard for us to understand, and you hear all these comments about people voting against their own interests. I don't think people are scared to death of anybody who isn't white being in office. I mean, like I said when I spoke, I think that the MAGA line is white supremacy, and that resonates very strongly in this state. People are scared. I think that and they have been instilled with fear, and they have that fear. I think that SNAP and Medicaid is our wedge issue. That, to me, is why we're talking about SNAP and Medicaid so strongly, because many of the people who during that election, the main thing they were afraid of is rapists and criminals coming across the border, because that's what they'd been told, and because we have a white supremacy issue in this state. And I think that there is a chance that some of them, when their food is taken away and their health care is taken away, maybe will connect the dots. And that's one of the reasons why I think we should stay so clearly on the issue of Medicaid and SNAP, because it's food and health care.
Oh, okay.
Good evening, everyone. I didn't actually come here to speak. I came here to support my lovely wife in her organization. But I did want to say a few things. I think, first of all, that we have to remember that this inevitably is a human issue. It's not a black or a white, it's not a Republican or a Democrat, and we fall into this mindset where we have just as bad of an echo chamber sometimes as the people that we think we need to be fighting against. And so we come here and we see one another and we're supported, which is great, but we're not going out and talking to the people that aren't here, the people that aren't seeing the issues that we're seeing, the people that aren't already agreeing with us. And we need to go out and we need to reach them. And sometimes those conversations are hard. Sometimes they are uncomfortable conversations. But they're the only conversations that actually lead to change. Change is uncomfortable. Change is hard. And people in this state are tired. And that's what they want. That's what the people in power want. They want us to be tired. They want us to be hurting. They want us to be suffering so that we don't fight back. And that's what they're getting right now. They're getting a people that don't want to fight back, or at least aren't fighting back against the people that we need to be fighting back against. You said rapists, murderers, right? Well, they convinced the majority of this state that that was our problem. Not health care, right? Not rampant poverty, not our education system. They convinced us that an extreme minority of our problem was the biggest problem we have. And how does that make sense? How do we make sense of that? The only way that we can make sense of that, the only way that we can actually enact change, is by going to the people that actually believed that. Going to those people and asking, why? Why did you believe that this was your most important problem when you went to the ballot box? Right? Also, the idea of the disabled, of children not being able to get the health care that they need because people aren't working is preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. Was Lazarus risen by Jesus so that he could get to work? I mean, really, this is unreal. But I want to also take a moment and praise the woman that I've decided to spend the rest of my life with, because she is extraordinarily understated. And there are many people in this state that owe their life to her doing the job that she's doing. And I think that we can all take from her what we need to be doing, which is we need to get out, we need to speak truth to power, whatever power that is, and we need to, as a community, focus on the things that we actually need to care about and ignore the noise. Ignore the things that they're telling us are the things that we need to care about, and really focus on the issues that affect each and every one of us. And it's not a Republican, it's not a Democrat issue, it's a human issue. That's what I wanted to say. Thanks.
I'm very lucky.
Yes, you are. One of my panels want to speak.
Hello.
I just wanted to make a comment because I don't see a lot of people my age in here either. And a lot of people, I think, my age do not understand what is going on. And I think they want it. There's so much chaos going on that they want us to be unaware, right?
Absolutely.
And I know with my job working, I work in recovery. My job is to meet people where they're at. My job is to meet people in their environment. And people don't know how much you care until they know how much you care. And when you go and meet them in their environment, and we do outreach, and we talk about it and bring it up, especially in West Virginia, I've learned, internet's cool and stuff, but people still like the flyers and you going into the community, and that's when change happens. I meet people and plant a seed because I go and I meet them where they're at, right where they're at. And so just a food for thought, and we all can do our part. And I just think that there's a lot of, they just don't know. They just don't know what's about to happen.
We'll let you and I work together to fix it.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. I didn't see you there. You just popped right up here on me.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just met this man, 2 days ago or something like that, and I went, oh, God, you've totally turned my life around. What I had planned to do went right out. And he was over at the house today before I got my breakfast done, and I cooked, and then I forgot to give him some. But what I really want to ask, because we go to meetings and we plan stuff, and we talk about it, and we'll talk about what we're going to do. So who are the leaders? I just heard the comment before I spoke when I heard you speak to her saying, we will do this. So am I to take that to be that you're the leaders of this we group that are going to plan whatever it is, or what? And I will just leave it that you not give me an answer now. We got a bunch of names and information out there on the writing on the list, so you can do that. But that happens. People talk and don't follow through. Okay, thank you.
No worries, she's already on plenty of lists.
No, it's not who list she's on, it's who's going to be the leader, who's going to do something.
Yeah.
Can I make a
Christine?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to touch on something that the gentleman that just left talked about, that a lot of times people are insecure about their bad behavior, and they look for someone to justify it. Your guilt and your conscience. You look for things to justify your bad behavior. This administration is playing on that a lot. Different religious groups, sexual orientation, race on race. And a lot of it is to blind you to what is going on with the power division that he's trying to create. There was very quietly a change made just this week that would put a plan in place that would pretty much prohibit people from filing a lawsuit against the government. Mm-hmm. And it would give him the power to put an executive order into place, and lower courts couldn't react to it. Mm-hmm. And it is actually taking the power away from the judicial branch. And so he's looking to destroy the landmarks of our democracy so that it can't be fixed. And I think that's the greater problem, because I don't think that he's thinking this is going to be his last presidency.
No.
I think it's going to be the last presidency, because it's going to just be like a monarchy. But a lot of these divisions, it's finding reason to justify your bad behavior, so that it makes me feel better about myself, and so I go along with it, even though it's something horrible that I'm supporting, because it makes me feel a little bit better about myself. But underneath it all, it's to support these changes in the power structure, because that one will go unnoticed. A lot of people don't even know it's in the bill.
Yeah.
So
Look over here so you don't see what I'm
so
doing
you don't
over
see
here.
what I'm doing with my right hand.
Christine?
I'm Christina Basin. I'm an independent reporter here in Beckley. I'm on Rebuttal with Christina Basin on Facebook. Please look me up. Obviously, we're going to get some version of this bill, right? And we foresee that being passed sometime after July 4th now. My questions are, one, when can we expect the implementation of this bill to begin? Do we even know that?
No.
And two, what are we doing to prepare for the consequences of this bill as a community? Because there are going to be people without food, there are going to be people without medical care, there's going to be people without medical supplies. We need to be thinking as a community as a whole on how we are going to help one another.
Oh, 100%. There are dates in the bill. It's a 10-year budget bill. A lot of it would be phased. Like the work requirements would be phased in over, I believe it's a 5-year period. If I'm not, I could be mistaken there. It could be 10. Right, right. So each step has, you know, a date attached to it, so it would depend on what part of it. But yeah, it's a 10-year budget bill. But yes, community and mutual aid are the only way we're going to survive this bill. Yes, ma'am.
You know, we need to look beyond this bill, whether it passes or doesn't pass. There's only going to be more bills after this, more crazy things they try to get through. So we need to look beyond that. We don't need to wait for the midterms. There are open seats in Congress where Congress people have died, people for the House of Representatives. We need to be working on those elections now. For example, they just had one this last week in Virginia. There is one going on. We lost a longtime progressive Congressman, Raul Grijalva. That election is going on right now. His daughter's running for the seat. I've been phone banking for Adelita Grijalva out in Arizona. That's an important seat we don't need to lose in Congress. There's another seat coming up in Illinois. If we just could flip the House, that would be very important because that's where these financial bills originate. So we need to keep campaigning for the people for those seats. That's really important. And yes, they may not be in West Virginia. We may not be having a special election in West Virginia, but their votes are going to affect West Virginia when they get into office. So we need to make sure that no more MAGA Republicans get in office. So I'd like to urge anybody, if you see one of those special elections coming up, and right now the one out in Arizona is coming up, I've been phone banking for her. If anybody wants to do that, you can find it on Mobilize. And there's another man in Illinois, his election's coming up soon. So that's really important.
Pam, you want to kind of take us out?
Anybody left? The only thing I want to say is a lot of the reason we're in the shape we're in is the last 10 years worth of tax breaks and tax cuts that they gave. And we have been sacrificing and giving them and everything and doing without. We can't have nothing nice because we've got to give to the billionaires. Well, you know what? Their tax cut is getting ready to run out. That's why they want to put this in here, and they want to rob us so we can take care. I don't want to hear welfare. The biggest welfare recipients is the wealthy. That is freeloaded off us. We're not the freeloaders. They are the freeloaders. They are the one who gets all of the exceptions, the breaks, the buy, whatever. We hand too big to fail. Well, when are we too big to fail? When are we going to matter? Our problem is not us, it's them. And it's time that we took our government and our states back from them. It's time that we quit handing, giving, and doing without so we can hand to the most wealthiest there is to have golden toilets. Now, come on. This is going to be a slow, agonizing, suffering. 10 more years of this. And then we're going to hear the same thing. 10 more years of this. It's time to stop it. Time to stop it. If we stand, there's enough of us to stop this. Our senators and our representatives are neglecting their jobs. They are not doing their jobs. They're not upholding this Constitution. They are not representing us. And it's time we put them on the road. We can do better. We don't have to live like this. We're the wealthiest country in the world. And it's time we started acting like it and quit begging and start demanding. So that's what I've got to say. They might get us on the end. They did this last time. But we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep talking. We're going to keep marching. And we're going to have victory. I don't care what party it is. Stand up for the people. So Dan is coming to lead us in a song. I want to thank all of y'all for being out here, for coming. And you know, I had an organizer that tell me this story about this other organizer that, you know, everybody was always asking him, what can I do? What can I do to help? And she said, what I tell them is talk to someone. Talk about it. Spread about it. Make yourself a promise every day that to somebody or someone you are going to talk to them about it. And we will make a difference. We will change hearts and minds. So, thank you.
All right, we're going to sing you out of here. But we're not going to sing, we're not standing up in front because we're not going to sing at you, we're going to sing with you. And so we're counting on all of you to give each other courage by joining in. So this is what they call a call and response song. And so here's your response. We're going to let it shine. We're going to let it shine. So you know this song. It's This Little Light of Mine. And this is the poor people's, you want to know who the leaders are, John, right? Gene, right now it's us. We're the leaders. Okay. Sounds conscripted. So at least on this, we're going to follow through. We're going to sing this song, and we're going to lead. And they're going to join in by singing their part. So here we go. This little light of mine, we're gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, we're gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, we're gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Now we're gonna have a key change. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, we're gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. In Raleigh and Wyoming, we're gonna let it shine. In Mercer and in Mingo, we're gonna This little light of mine, we're gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, we're gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Good bit. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Good, safe travels going home. It was so good to see everybody.
Take the words. Take the words.